This is Boxing Talk 8576. I want to talk about the potential fight between Shawn Porter and Keith Thurman. And the only reason why I say potential because it's not official, but apparently Richard Schaefer has been talking about possibly putting this fight together. Um, I have Keith Thurman winning this fight, but let me tell you why and break down some of the stylistic matchup between these two fighters. I looked at their last three fights. You know, I seen their last three fights anyway, but I went back and looked at a couple of the older fights that they had to make sure what I was seeing. I'm gonna start with Keith Thurman. I seen the Zabik fight. I had to go back and see that one because I haven't seen it in a while. And I already know what he did in the Soto Karass fight and the Diego Chavez fight. In the Zabik fight, he was trying to use his power a lot in that fight in the first 3 or 4 rounds, but he seen that he couldn't get the guy out of there. The guy was a tough fighter. The guy was a former champion, and he went 12 rounds and he showed his boxing ability. So that was impressive that he was able to do that. He seen that he could not, because you can't knock everybody out apparently, and a lot of punchers have to find that out. And some get frustrated, and Keith Thurman he did not get frustrated, and he started boxing and he outclassed the guy. And in the Jesus Chavez fight, Jesus Chavez was known for knocking guys out. He had a lot of knockouts. Him and Keith Thurman both had a lot of knockouts, so no one seen this fight going the distance. So they both came out and were landing heavy shots on each other, back and forth. Chavez was a tough fighter. He came out to win, to fight. He was a live underdog. He fought Keith Thurman even for the first 6 rounds or so, 6 or 7 rounds or so. But Keith Thurman showed another facet of his game. He started boxing, moving, going to the body. He actually dropped Chavez to the body, Diego Chavez to the body. And in another round, he finished him off to the head. So he showed versatility that he can not only get you out of there by, his power. He can also box. He didn't show frustration, which is good for a young fighter. Some young fighters, if they're used to knocking people out, they usually get a little distraught when they can't get you out of there early. But he showed that he can go in there and box and then set his power up in the sequence of boxing. Because usually when a puncher goes in there, he usually looks for the big shot, and the other fighter, if he's any good, if he has any knowledge and can handle himself in the ring, he can see a big shot coming and either block it, move, brace himself even more. But if you go in there and you use your boxing to set up your power, you can camouflage the power by boxing, and it's harder for the guy to pick it up, and you can get your power shots, in between soft shots, and then you can come with a hard shot and you can stun the person or knock him down and knock him out. So he showed very well in that fight. And then in the Jesus Soto Karass fight, he took another step. He got caught early, because that's the big thing about Keith Thurman. He has his hands down a little bit too much for my liking. He got caught early against Soto Karass. Soto Karass is a big welterweight. The man is he looks like he's about 5'10", and his reach is like crazy. He got crazy reach. He had crazy range, man. He looks big in there. But he showed different things against Soto Karass. He started boxing earlier in this fight than he did in the other fights, and that shows maturity. Shows that he's getting better. That shows that he knows not to go in there and try to waste your power punches early. Set it up with boxing. That way you conserve energy too, because it takes a lot of energy to throw hard punches. If you've ever been in the ring, I've been in the boxing ring. If you try to throw all hard punches, I don't care how good a shape you're in, you're going to get tired down the stretch. So he went in there, he was boxing, he was moving, he was giving angles, he was getting in and out, he was going to the body. But he does have to work on getting caught early. He squares up sometimes a little bit too much when he's throwing his power. He throws his uppercut from the outside, too far from the outside. Sometimes he has to clear that up, but he still, you know, have things to work on. He still have things that he can improve on. So his next fight should be better, because he admitted, like, unlike other fighters, he does look at tape, and I believe all fighters should look at tape, especially young fighters should look at tape. So that's my take on Keith Thurman. I'm gonna go to Shawn Porter. I seen Shawn Porter against Julio Diaz 1 and 2, and I seen the Devin Alexander fight. Let me talk about the Julio Diaz fights. In the first fight, I seen that Shawn Porter, I don't know, he's a versatile fighter. Let me put it that way. But when I say versatile fighter, it doesn't mean that you're good at all the versatility that you have, that you can bring to the ring. He's okay in both inside and outside. His biggest attribute to me is he's very athletic. He's quick. What I notice about Shawn Porter is he squares up a lot. He falls in a lot. He's not an inside fighter. He doesn't fight inside. He's not an inside fighter, which I mean he doesn't want the fight to be in the phone booth. Shawn Porter is an outside fighter, mainly an outside fighter. To me, when you fight inside, if you're a good inside fighter, you don't fall in and hold the guy. You don't initiate the holding. An inside fighter wants to get in for a reason, because he wants to fight inside. He doesn't initiate the holding. Usually the other guy initiates the holding because he don't want you to fight inside. But I seen Shawn Porter in both of the Julio Diaz fights. I seen him initiating the holding inside. He's more of a bull rusher. He rushes you like a bulldozer and try to be physical with you far as wrestling. He does that. He will throw punches while he in the inside, but his main objective, seeing it from my eyes, is he wants to bulldoze you and hold you and be physical with you, far as like Bernard Hopkins does. When Bernard Hopkins get it inside, Bernard Hopkins would throw some punches in the inside, but he will hold you and throw his punches. To me, an inside fighter wants just enough space to get his short punches off to the body and rip him to the head. Shawn Porter doesn't do that, to me, when I see it. I mean, you can go back and look at the tape, but when I see it, he doesn't do that. He initiates a lot of holding, and he fights very quick and fast. He looks good in the first 5 rounds. After that, Shawn Porter starts slowing down, and then he gets more sloppy. He get even sloppier when he slows down. Now, I'm not trying to get on him too much, because he does have a belt, but I'm just gonna go by what I see in the ring. He squares up more than Keith Thurman does, and I know I hear stories that Shawn Porter knocked down even James Kirkland, and that's impressive for him to knock down James Kirkland. James Kirkland, we all know, is a warrior and everything, but my thing is, sparring is important. Don't get me wrong, because I am an advocate that sparring does help you, and things you do in sparring can show you what another fighter does. But Shawn Porter has some wars against Manny. I think he said he almost knocked Manny down, or the ropes held Manny up when he was sparring with Manny. But his style of fighting, like, far as people say, oh, he's his monster in sparring, but his sparring does not translate to the ring far as a live fight. In instance, let me say this, like, if you have like somebody like Floyd Mayweather or Pernell Whitaker or Sugar Ray Leonard or Muhammad Ali, for that matter, they're boxers. They're pure boxers. And if in sparring, if they boxing your head off, then you say, oh wow, because that's what they actually do. That's what they actually do in the ring. So what they do in sparring translates to fights. It's some fighters that does very well and does things in sparring that it doesn't translate to the real fight. And I think Shawn Porter is one of those guys that does really well in sparring, but it doesn't translate to the ring. Like he did not once knock Julio Diaz down in any of the fights, or I think he stunned maybe Julio Diaz one time in 20 rounds that they fought. I think he stunned him once. So the power that he shows in sparring, he doesn't show that power in the real fights. And Diaz has been down 8 times in his career, and he didn't put Diaz down one time. And another thing, Shawn Porter gets hit by uppercuts, and he gets hit by a lot of right hands. Diaz landed a lot of right hands and a lot of uppercuts and a lot of hooks. And Keith Thurman throws really good right hands, hooks, and uppercuts. See, and that falling in thing, when he falls in, I seen Diaz catch him with some uppercuts when he fell in. Keith Thurman throws a really good uppercut. So the stylistic matchup that they have goes in favor of Keith Thurman, because the weaknesses that Shawn Porter shows in the ring is some things that Keith Thurman can capitalize on, in my opinion, which is when Shawn Porter falls in, Keith Thurman takes a step back and throw an uppercut. Shawn Porter gets hit with a lot of right hands. I mean, he was getting hit by a lot of Julio Diaz right hands, and Diaz does not have the power that Keith Thurman has. Keith Thurman will hurt Shawn Porter or possibly knock Shawn Porter down a couple times in this fight. He will probably get a knockdown due to Shawn Porter squaring up and being off balance, because Shawn Porter has a tendency of trying to move too quick in there, and he's trying to do so many different things that sometimes he get mixed up and don't know what he want to do, and you can get caught in between trying to do something that you're trying to transition to, and you don't quite get there, and a punch comes and you can fall from that. It's called a flash knockdown. But I'm gonna give Shawn Porter credit for winning the belt against Devin Alexander, but in that fight, once again, Shawn Porter, he's technically wild. He squared up a lot in that Devin Alexander fight. It's just the fact that Devin Alexander he succumbed to the physicality in the inside that Shawn Porter was trying to do. Devin Alexander, to me, mentally is not tough enough, and I think Shawn Porter and his father knew Devin Alexander was not a person that was going to resist them, what they was doing. See, Julio Diaz, he couldn't bully Julio Diaz because Julio Diaz stepped up to the plate and actually fought back. Devin Alexander didn't fight back. Devin Alexander has a really good uppercut. Devin Alexander never took a step back and tried to throw the uppercut when Shawn Porter tried to fall in. So you can have the tools to do things. Because I've seen Devin Alexander throw really nice uppercuts in previous fights. But the fact of the matter is, when you bully Devin Alexander, he don't have to sex against bully fighters. You know what I'm saying? Look at the fight between him when he fought against I lost my train of thought. I couldn't figure out the fighter that he fought, but I'm gonna come back to it. But Timothy Bradley, when he fought Timothy Bradley, when they both was undefeated, my fault. When he fought Timothy Bradley, when they were both undefeated, you could see when Timothy Bradley got physical and got in the inside. See, Timothy Bradley really not an inside fighter either. Timothy Bradley does the same thing Shawn Porter does, or Shawn Porter does the same thing Tim Bradley does. They both go in and try to bully you, hold you, throw punches while they're holding you, and try to get real physical with you on the inside. Try to make it a dog fight in the inside. And he did that against Devin Alexander, and Devin Alexander folded under the pressure. And Shawn Porter took the blueprint from Timothy Bradley and implicated it in his fight, and that's how he was able to beat Devin Alexander. But in that fight, he still did the same thing he did in the Julio Diaz fights. He was wild. You could see that he's athletic and he's quick in the ring, but technically, to me, I'm gonna give him a little credit. He throws nice punches, but a lot of times he's squaring up when he's throwing these punches. You cannot square up, especially against a power puncher, because like I said, you can have flash knockdowns. A power puncher can hit you with a punch that moves your body. If you're in the wrong position, you can fall down from that. And then if you square up and you fall in, you get hit by an uppercut, you can get hurt. So I don't know. Leave me some comments below. Let me know who you got in this fight. This is Boxing Talk 8576. I'm out.